What is the use of a book without pictures or conversation?
Oh dear, oh dear. Oh, I shall be too late.
Burning with curiosity, Alice ran across the field after the rabbit and was just in time to see it pop down a large rabbit hole under the hedge. Either the well was very deep or she fell very slowly, for she had plenty of time as she went down to look about her.
Well, after such a fall as this, I shall think nothing of tumbling down the stairs. I wonder how many miles I've fallen by this time. I must be getting somewhere near the centre of the earth. Let me see. That would be 4,000 miles down, I think. But then, I wonder latitude or longitude I've got to. I wonder if I shall fall right through the earth. How funny it'll seem to come out among the people that walk with their heads downwards. The antipathies, I think. Dinah, my dear, I wish you were down here with me. There are no mice in the air, I'm afraid, but you might catch a bat, and that's very like a mouse, you know. But do cats eat bats, I wonder? Do cats eat bats? Do bats eat cats? Now, Dinah, tell me the truth. Did you ever eat a bat?
Oh, my ears and whiskers, how late...
Oops!
Alice was close behind the rabbit, but when she turned the corner, the rabbit was no longer to be seen. She found herself in a long, low hall. There were doors all around the hall. Suddenly, Alice came upon a low curtain she had not noticed before, and behind it was a little door. She tried the little golden key, and to her great delight, it fitted.
I cannot even get my head through the doorway, and even if my head would go through, it would be of very little use without my shoulders. Oh, how I wish I could shut up like a telescope. I think I could, if only I knew how to begin.
Alice went back to the table, half hoping she might find a book of rules for shutting people up like telescopes. This time, she found a little bottle on it. However, this bottle was not marked poison, so Alice ventured to taste it.
Very nice. A sort of mixed flavour of cherry tart, custard, pineapple, roast turkey, toffee, and hot buttered toast. What a curious feeling. I must be shutting up like a telescope. I will wait for a few moments to see if I will shrink any further, for it might end, you know, in my going out altogether like a candle.
After a while, finding that nothing more had happened, Alice decided to return to the little door into the lovely garden.
Oh no, I have forgotten the little golden key. I must go back to the table for it. Come, there's no use in crying like that. I advise you to leave off this minute. But it's no use now to pretend to be two people. Why, There's hardly enough of me left to make one respectable person. Eat it, and if it makes me larger, I can reach the key, and if it makes me smaller, I can creep under the door. So either way, I'll get into the garden, and I don't care which happens. Which way, I wonder?
Alice was quite surprised to find she remained the same size, so she set to work, and very soon finished off the cake.
Curiouser and curiouser. Now I am opening out like the largest telescope that ever was. Goodbye, feet. Oh, my poor little feet. I wonder who will put on your shoes and stockings for you now, dears. I must be kind to them, or perhaps they won't walk the way I want to go. Let me see. I'll give them a new pair of boots every Christmas. How funny it'll seem, sending presents to one's own feet. Ouch!
Alice at once took up the little golden key and hurried off to the garden door. Poor Alice! To get through into the garden was more hopeless than ever. She began to cry again.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself, a great girl like you, to go on crying in this way. Stop this moment, I tell you.
But she went on all the same, shedding gallons of tears until there was a large pool all around her.
If you please, sir. Dear, dear, how queer everything is today. And yesterday things went on just as usual. Let me think. Was I the same when I got up this morning? If I'm not the same, the next question is, who in the world am I? Ah, that's the great puzzle. Is 12, 4 times 6 is 13, and 4 times 7 is... oh dear, I shall never get to 20 at that rate. However, the multiplication table doesn't signify. Say, how doth the little crocodile improve his shining tail, and pour the waters of the Nile on every golden scale? How cheerfully he seems to grin, how neatly spread his claws, and welcomes little fishes in with gently smiling jaws. I'm sure those are not the right words. Let's try geography. London is the capital of Paris, and Paris is the capital of Rome, and Rome... no, that's all wrong, I'm certain. is 12. 4 times 6 is 13. And 4 times 7 is... oh dear, I shall never get to 20 at that rate. However, the multiplication table doesn't signify. I must be Mabel after all, and I am so very tired of being all alone here. Let's try geography. London is the capital of Paris, and Paris is the capital of Rome, and Rome... no, that's all wrong, I'm certain. Let's try geography. London is the capital of Paris, and Paris is the capital of Rome, and Rome... no, that's all wrong, I'm certain. 4 times 5 is 12, 4 times 6 is 13, and 4 times 7 is... oh dear, I shall never get to 20 at that rate. However, the multiplication table doesn't signify. I'm sure I'm not Ada, for her hair goes in such long ringlets, and mine doesn't go in ringlets at all. I'll try and say, how doth the little crocodile improve his shining tail, and pour the waters of the Nile on every golden scale. How cheerfully he seems to grin, how neatly spread his claws, and welcomes little fishes in with gently smiling jaws. I'm sure those are not the right words. Let's try geography. London is the capital of Paris, and Paris is the capital of Rome, and Rome... no, that's all wrong, I'm certain. 4 times 5 is 12, 4 times 6 is 13, and 4 times 7 is... oh dear, I shall never get to 20 at that rate. However, the multiplication table doesn't signify. geography. London is the capital of Paris, and Paris is the capital of Rome, and Rome... No, that's all wrong, I'm certain. I'm sure I'm not Ada, for her hair goes in such long ringlets, and mine doesn't go in ringlets at all. I'll try and say, how doth the little crocodile improve his shining tail, and pour the waters of the Nile on every golden scale. How cheerfully he seems to grin, how neatly spread his claws, and welcomes little fishes in with gently smiling jaws. I'm sure those are not the right words.
Alice was surprised to see that she had put on one of the rabbit's white kid gloves. She got up and went to the table to measure herself by it. She was now about 2 feet high and was going on shrinking rapidly. She soon found out that the cause of this was the fan she was holding.
That was a narrow escape.
She ran with all speed back to the little door, but alas, the little door was shut again, and the little golden key was lying on the glass table as before.
And things are worse than ever, for I never was so small as this before, never, and I declare it's too bad that it is.
As she said these words, her foot slipped.
I wish I hadn't cried so much. I shall be punished for it now, I suppose, by being drowned in my own tears. That will be a queer thing, to be sure. Would it be of any use now to speak to this mouse? Everything is so out of the way down here that I should think very likely it can talk. Oh, mouse, do you know the way out of this pool? I'm very tired of swimming about here, oh mouse. Perhaps it doesn't understand English. I dare say it's a French mouse. Come over with William the Conqueror. Où est ma chatte? Oh, I beg your pardon. I quite forgot you didn't like cats.
Not like cats? Would you like cats if you were me?
Well, perhaps not. Don't be angry about it. And yet, I wish I could show you our cat, Dinah. I think you'd take a fancy to cats, if you could only see her. She is such a dear little thing, and she's a capital one for catching mice. Oh, I beg your pardon. We won't talk about her any more if you'd rather not.
We, indeed. As if I would talk on such a subject. Our family always hated cats. Nasty, low, vulgar things. Don't let me hear the name again.
I won't indeed. Are you fond of dogs? There is such a nice little dog near our house I should like to show you. It belongs to a farmer, you know, and he says it's so useful. He says it kills rats and... Oh dear, I'm afraid I've offended it again. Mouse dear, do come back again, and we won't talk about cats, or dogs either if you don't like them.
Let us get to the shore, and then I'll tell you my history, and you'll understand why it is I hate cats and dogs.
How do we get dry?
I am older than you, and must know better.
How old are you then?
I positively refuse to tell you my age.
Then there's no more to be said.
Sit down, all of you, and listen to me. I'll soon make you dry enough. Are you all ready? This is the driest thing I know. Silence all round, if you please. William the Conqueror, whose cause was favoured by the Pope, was soon submitted to by the English, who wanted leaders, and had of late been much accustomed to usurpation and conquest.
Ah,
I beg your pardon. Did you speak?
not I.
I thought you did. I proceed. Edwin and Morcar, the Earls of Mercia and Northumberland, declared for him, and even Stigand, the patriotic Archbishop of Canterbury, found it advisable...
Found what?
Found it, of course. You know what it means.
I know what it means well enough. When I find a thing, it's generally a frog or a worm. The question is, what did the Archbishop find?
Found it advisable to go with Edgar Atheling and meet William and offer him the How are you getting on now, my dear?
As wet as ever. It doesn't seem to dry me at all.
In that case, I move that the meeting adjourn for the immediate adoption of more energetic remedies.
Speak English! I don't know the meaning of half those long words. And what's more, I don't believe you do either.
What I was going to say was that the best thing to get us dry would be a Caucus-Race.
What is a Caucus-Race?
Why, the best way to explain it is to do it.
Who has won?
Everybody has won, and all must have prizes.
But who is to give the prizes?
Why, she, of course.
But she must have a prize herself, you know.
Of course. What else have you got in your pocket?
A thimble.
Hand it over here. We beg your acceptance of this elegant thimble.
Hooray! Hooray!
Alice put her hand in her pocket and pulled out a box of comfits and handed them round as prizes.
Tell us something more.
You promised to tell me your history, you know, and why it is you hate C and D.
Mine is a long and sad tale.
It is a long tale, certainly, but why do you call it sad?
Alice kept on puzzling about it while the mouse was speaking, so her idea of the tale was something like this.
Fury said to a mouse that he met in the house, "Let us both go to law. I will prosecute you. Come, I'll take no denial. We must have the trial, for really this morning I've nothing to do." Said the mouse to the cur, "Such a trial, dear sir, with no jury or judge, would be wasting our breath." "I'll be judge, I'll be jury," said cunning old Fury. "I'll try the whole cause and condemn you to death."
You are not attending. What are you thinking of?
I beg your pardon. You had got to the fifth bend, I think?
I had not.
A knot? Oh, do let me help to undo it.
I shall do nothing of the sort. You insult me by talking such nonsense.
I didn't mean it, but you're so easily offended, you know. Please come back and finish your story.
What a pity it wouldn't stay.
I wish I had our Dinah here. I know I do. She'd soon fetch it back.
And who is Dinah, if I might venture to ask the question?
Dinah's our cat, and she's such a capital one for catching mice, you can't think. And oh, I wish you could see her after the birds. Why, she'll eat a little bird as soon as look at it.
Come away, my girl. It's time for you all in bed.
I wish I hadn't mentioned Dinah. Nobody seems to like her down here, and I'm sure she's the best cat in the world. Oh, my dear Dinah, I wonder if I shall ever see you anymore.
The Duchess! Oh, my dear paws, oh, my fur and whiskers, she'll get me executed, as sure as ferrets are ferrets. Where can I have dropped them, I wonder? Why, Marianne, what are you doing out here? Run home this moment and fetch me a pair of gloves and a fan. Quick now!
He took me for his housemaid. How surprised he'll be when he finds out who I am. But I'd better take him his fan and gloves. That is, if I can find them. How queer it seems to be going messages for a rabbit. I know something interesting is sure to happen whenever I eat or drink anything, so I'll just see what this bottle does. I do hope it'll make me grow large again, for really, I'm quite tired of being such a tiny little thing. That's quite enough. I hope I shan't grow any more. As it is, I can't get out at the door. I do wish I hadn't drunk quite so much. Now I can do no more, whatever happens. What will become of me?
Marianne! Marianne! Fetch me my gloves this moment! Then I'll go round and get in at the window.
That you won't.
Pat? Pat, where are you?
Sure then. I'm here, digging for apples, Your Honour.
Digging for apples, indeed. Here, come and help me out of this. Now tell me, Pat, what is that in the window?
Sure. It's an arm, Your Honour.
An arm, you goose. Whoever saw one that size? Why, it fills the whole window.
Sure it does, Your Honour. But it's an arm for all that.
Well, it's got no business there at any rate. Go and take it away.
Sure. I don't like it, Your Honour. At all. At all.
Do as I tell you, you coward.
What a number of cucumber frames there must be. I wonder what they'll do next.
Where is the other, lad? Bill's got the other. Bill, fetch it here, lad. Here, put them up at this corner. Oh, they'll do well enough. Don't be particular. Here, Bill, catch hold of this rope. Mind that loose slate. Oh, it's coming down. Heads below. Now, who did that? It was Bill, I fancy. Who's to go down the chimney? Bill's got to go down. Here, Bill. The master says you've got to go down the chimney.
Oh, so Bill's got to come down the chimney, has he? Why, they seem to put everything upon Bill. I wouldn't be in Bill's place for a great deal. This fireplace is narrow, to be sure, but I think I can kick a little. This is Bill.
Catch him! You by the hedge!
Hold up his head. Brandy now. Don't choke him.
That's Bill.
Well, I hardly know. No more, thank you. I'm better now, but I'm a deal too flustered to tell you. All I know is something comes at me like a jack-in-the-box, and up I goes like a skyrocket.
So you did, old fella.
We must burn the house down.
If you do, I'll set Dinah at you. I wonder what they will do next. If they had any sense, they'd take the roof off.
A barrow full will do, to begin with.
A barrow full of what? I'll put a stop to this. You'd better not do that again. If I eat some of these cakes, it's sure to make some change in my size. And as it can't possibly make me larger, it must make me smaller, I suppose.
she ran out of the house and found quite a crowd of animals and birds waiting outside. She ran off as hard as she could and soon found herself safe in a thick wood.
The first thing I've got to do is to grow to my right size again. And the second thing is to find my way into that lovely garden. I think that will be the best plan. Poor little thing. And yet, what a dear little puppy it was. I should have liked teaching it tricks very much if only I'd been the right size to do it. Oh dear, I'd nearly forgotten that I'd got to grow up again. Let me see. How is it to be managed? I suppose I ought to eat or drink something or other. But the question is, what?
Who are you?
I hardly know, sir, just at present. At least, I know who I was when I got up this morning, but I think I must have been changed several times since then.
What do you mean by that? Explain yourself.
I can't explain myself, I'm afraid, sir, because I am not myself, you see.
I don't see.
I'm afraid I can't put it more clearly, for I can't understand it myself to begin with. And being so many different sizes in a day is so confusing.
It isn't.
Well, perhaps you haven't found so yet, but when you have to turn into a chrysalis, you will someday, you know, and then after that into a butterfly, I should think you'll feel it a little queer, won't you?
Not a bit.
Well, perhaps your feelings may be different. All I know is, it would feel very queer to me.
You? Who are you?
I think you ought to tell me who you are first.
Why? Come back. I have something to say. Keep your temper.
Is that all?
No. Do you think you're changed, do you?
I'm afraid I am, sir. I can't remember things as I used, and I don't keep the same size for 10 minutes together.
Can't remember what thing.
Well, I've tried to say, how doth the little busy bee, but it came out all different.
Repeat. You are old, Father William.
are old, Father William, the young man said, and your hair has become very white. And yet you incessantly stand on your head. Do you think at your age it is right? In my youth, Father William replied to his son, I feared it might injure the brain. But now that I'm perfectly sure I have none, why, I do it again and again. Said the youth, as I mentioned before, and have grown most uncommonly fat. Yet you turned a back somersault in at the door. Pray, what is the reason of that? In my youth, said the sage, as he shook his grey locks, I have kept all my limbs very supple, by the use of this ointment, 1 shilling the box. Allow me to sell you a couple. old, said the youth, and your jaws are too weak for anything tougher than suet. Yet you finished the goose, with the bones and the beak. Pray, how did you manage to do it? In my youth, said his father, I took to the law, and argued each case with my wife. And the muscular strength which it gave to my jaw has lasted the rest of my life. Said the youth. One would hardly suppose that your eye was as steady as ever. Yet you balanced an eel at the end of your nose. What made you so awfully clever? I have answered 3 questions and that is enough, said his father. Don't give yourself airs. Do you think I can listen all day to such stuff? Be off, or I'll kick you downstairs.
That is not said right.
Not quite right, I'm afraid. Some of the words have got altered.
It is wrong from beginning to end. What size do you want to be?
Oh, I'm not particular as to size. Only one doesn't like changing so often, you know.
I don't know. Are you content now?
Well, I should like to be a little larger, sir, if you wouldn't mind. 3 inches is such a wretched height to be.
It is a very good height indeed.
But I'm not used to it. I wish the creatures wouldn't be so easily offended.
You get used to it in time. One side will make you grow taller, and the other side will make you grow shorter.
One side of what? The other side of what?
Of the mushroom.
Alice remained looking thoughtfully at the mushroom for a minute, trying to make out which were the 2 sides of it, and as it was perfectly round, she found this a very difficult question.
And now, which is which? It's free at last. Where can all that green stuff be? And where have my shoulders got to? And oh, my poor hands! How is it I can't see you?
Serpent!
I'm not a serpent. Let me alone.
Serpent, I say again. I've tried every way, and nothing seems to suit them.
I haven't the least idea what you're talking about.
As if it wasn't enough trouble hatching the eggs. But I must be on the lookout for serpents night and day. Why, I haven't had a wink of sleep these 3 weeks.
I'm very sorry you've been annoyed.
And just as I was thinking I should be free of them at last, they must needs come wriggling down from the sky. Serpent!
But I'm not a serpent, I tell you. I'm a...
Well, what are you? I can see you're trying to invent something.
I'm a little girl.
A likely story indeed. I've seen a good many little girls in my time, but never with such a neck as that. No, you're a serpent, and there's no use denying it. I suppose you'll be telling me next that you never tasted an egg.
I have tasted eggs, certainly, but little girls eat eggs quite as much as serpents do, you know.
I don't believe it, but if they do, why, then they're a new kind of serpent. That's all I can say. You're looking for eggs. I know that well enough.
It matters a great deal to me, but I'm not looking for eggs as it happens. And if I was, I shouldn't want yours. I don't like them raw.
Well, be off then.
Alice remembered that she still had the pieces of mushroom, and nibbling them would bring her down to her usual height.
There's half my plan done now. How puzzling all these changes are. I'm never sure what I'm going to be from one minute to another. However, I've got back to my right size. The next thing is to get into that beautiful garden. How is that to be done, I wonder? Whoever lives there, it'll never do to come upon them this size. Why, I should frighten them out of their wits.
Alice did not venture to go near the house till she had brought herself down to a height that she might enter the door of the house.
For the Duchess, an invitation from the Queen to play croquet.
From the Queen, an invitation for the Duchess to play croquet.
Alice laughed so much that she had to run back into the wood. When she returned, the fish footman was gone.
There's no sort of use in knocking, and that for 2 reasons. First, because I'm on the same side of the door as you are. Secondly, because they're making such a noise inside, no one could possibly hear you.
Please then, how am I to get in?
There might be some sense in your knocking if we had the door between us. For instance, if you were inside, you might knock, and I could let you out, you know. I shall sit here till tomorrow. Or next day, maybe.
How am I to get in at all?
Are you to get in at all? That's the first question, you know.
It's really dreadful the way all the creatures argue. It's enough to drive one crazy. But what am I to do?
Anything you like.
Alice opened the door which led right into a large kitchen.
Please, would you tell me why your cat grins like that?
It's a Cheshire cat. And that's why, pig.
I didn't know that Cheshire cats always grinned. In fact, I didn't know that cats could grin.
They all can, and most of them do.
I don't know of any that do.
You don't know much, and that's a fact.
Oh, please mind what you're doing.
Oh, if everybody minded their own business, the world would go round a great deal faster than it does.
Which would not be an advantage. Just think what work it would make with the day and night. You see, the Earth takes 24 hours to turn round on its axis.
Talking of axes, chop off her head.
24 hours, I think. Or is it 12?
Oh, don't bother me. I never could abide figures. Speak roughly to your little boy and beat him when he sneezes. He only does it to annoy because he knows it teases.
Wow, 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 wow.
I speak severely to my boy and beat him when he sneezes, for he can thoroughly enjoy the pepper when he pleases.
Wow, 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 wow.
Here, you may nurse it a bit if you like. I must go and get ready to play croquet with the Queen.
If I don't take this child away with me, they're sure to kill it in a day or two. Don't grunt. That's not at all a proper way of expressing yourself. I do not like the look of this thing at all. If you're going to turn into a pig, my dear, I'll have nothing more to do with you. Mind now. If it had grown up, it would have made a dreadfully ugly child. But it makes a rather handsome pig, I think. What other children do I know who might do very well as pigs? If one only knew the right way to change them.
Alice began thinking over children she knew who might do very well as pigs, when she was a little startled by the meow of the Cheshire cat sitting on a bough of a tree.
Wow!
Cheshire Puss, would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here?
That depends a good deal on where you want to get to.
I don't much care where.
Then it doesn't matter which way you go.
So long as I get somewhere.
Oh, you're sure to do that, if only you walk long enough.
What sort of people live about here?
In that direction lives a hatter. And in that direction, wow, lives a March hare. Visit either if you like. They're both mad.
But I don't want to go among mad people.
Oh, you can't help that. We're all mad here. I'm mad, you're mad.
How do you know I'm mad?
You must be, or you wouldn't have come here.
And how do you know that you're mad?
To begin with, a dog's not mad. You grant that.
I suppose so.
Well then, you see a dog growls when it's angry and wags its tail when it's pleased. Now I growl when I'm pleased and wag my tail when I'm angry.
I call it purring, not growling.
Call it what you like. Do you play croquet with the Queen today?
I should like it very much, but I haven't been invited yet.
You'll see me there. By the by, what became of the baby? I'd nearly forgotten to ask.
It turned into a pig.
I thought it would.
I've seen hatters before. The March hare will be much the most interesting, and perhaps, as this is May, it won't be raving mad. At least, not so mad as it was in March.
Did you say pig or fig?
I said pig, and I wish you wouldn't keep appearing and vanishing so suddenly. You make one quite giddy.
All right.
Well, I've often seen a cat without a grin, but a grin without a cat? It's the most curious thing I ever saw in all my life.
Alice remembered that she still had the pieces of mushroom.
It'll never do to come upon them this size.
No room, no room.
There's plenty of room.
Have some wine.
I don't see any wine.
There isn't any.
Then it wasn't very civil of you to offer it.
It wasn't very civil of you to sit down without being invited.
I didn't know it was your table. It's laid for a great many more than 3.
Your hair wants cutting.
You should learn not to make personal remarks. It's very rude.
Why is a raven like a writing desk?
I believe I can guess that.
Do you mean that you think you can find out the answer to it?
Exactly so.
Then you should say what you mean.
I do. At least I mean what I say. That's the same thing, you know.
Not the same thing a bit. Why, you might just as well say that I see what I eat is the same thing as I eat what I see.
You might just as well say that I like what I get is the same thing as I get what I like.
You might just as well say that I breathe when I sleep is the same thing as I sleep when I breathe.
It is the same thing with you. What day of the month is it?
The 4th.
2 days wrong. I told you butter wouldn't suit the works.
It was the best butter, you know.
Yes, but some crumbs might have got in as well. You shouldn't have put it in with the bread knife.
It was the best butter, you know.
What a funny watch. It tells the day of the month and doesn't tell what o'clock it is.
Why should it? Does your watch tell you what year it is?
Of course not, but that's because it stays the same year for such a long time together.
Which is just the case with mine.
I don't quite understand you.
The dormouse is asleep again.
Of course! Just what I was going to remark myself.
Have you guessed the riddle yet?
No, I give it up. What's the answer?
I haven't the slightest idea.
Nor I.
I think you might do something better with the time than wasting it in asking riddles that have no answers.
If you knew time as well as I do, you wouldn't talk about wasting it. It's him.
I don't know what you mean.
Of course you don't. I dare say you never even spoke to time.
Perhaps not, but I know I have to beat time when I learn music.
Ah, that accounts for it. He won't stand beating. Now, if you only kept on good terms with him, he'd do almost anything you liked with the clock. For instance, suppose it were 9 o'clock in the morning, just time to begin lessons. You'd only have to whisper a hint to time, and round goes the clock in a twinkling. 1:30, time for dinner.
I only wish it was.
That would be grand, certainly. But then, I shouldn't be hungry for it, you know.
Not at first, perhaps, but you could keep it to 1:30 as long as you liked.
Is that the way you manage?
Not I. We quarrelled last March, just before he went mad, you know. It was at the great concert given by the Queen of Hearts, and I had to sing, "Twinkle, twinkle, little bat, how I wonder what you're at." You know the song, perhaps?
I've heard something like it.
It goes on, you know, in this way. Up above the world you fly, like a tea tray in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle. Well, I'd hardly finished the first verse when the Queen bawled out, "He's murdering the time! Off with his head!"
How dreadfully savage.
And ever since that, he won't do a thing I ask. It's always 6 o'clock now.
Is that the reason so many tea things are put out here?
Ah, yes, that's it. It's always tea time, and with no time to wash things between whiles.
Then you keep moving round, I suppose?
Exactly so, as the things get used up.
But what happens when you come round to the beginning again?
Oh, I vote the young lady tells a story.
I'm afraid I don't know one.
Then the dormouse shall. Wake up, dormouse.
I wasn't asleep. I heard every word you fellows were saying.
Tell us a story.
Yes, please do.
And be quick about it, or you'll be asleep again before it's done.
Once upon a time, there were 3 little sisters, and their names were Elsie, Daisy, and Tilly. And they lived at the bottom of a well.
What did they live on?
They lived on treacle.
They couldn't have done that, you know. They'd have been ill.
So they were. Very ill.
But why did they live at the bottom of a well?
It was a treacle well.
There's no such thing.
Shh, shh.
And so these 3 little sisters, they were learning to draw, you know.
What did they draw?
Treacle.
I want a clean cup. Let's all move one place on.
But I don't understand. Where did they draw the treacle from?
You can draw water out of a water well, so I should think you could draw treacle out of a treacle well, eh? Stupid.
But they were in the well.
Of course they were. Well in. They were learning to draw, and they drew all manner of things. Everything that begins with an M.
Why with an M?
Why not?
That begins with an M, such as mousetraps, and the moon, and memory, and muchness. You know you say things are much of a muchness. Did you ever see such a thing as a drawing of a muchness?
Really, now you ask me, I don't think...
Then you shouldn't talk.
Alice looked back, half hoping that they would call after her. She then saw the March Hare and the Hatter trying to put the Dormouse into the teapot.
At any rate, I'll never go there again. It's the stupidest tea party I ever was at in all my life.
Just as she said this, she noticed that one of the trees had a door leading right into it.
That's very curious, but everything's curious today. I shall try to go in at once.
Once more, Alice found herself in the long hall and close to the little glass table.
Now, I'll manage better this time.
She took the little golden key and unlocked the door that led into the garden. Alice then set to work nibbling at the mushroom to make herself smaller. Alice found herself, at last, in the beautiful garden.
Look out now, Five. Don't go splashing paint over me like...
I couldn't help it. Seven jogged my elbow.
That's right, Five. Always lay the blame on others.
You'd better not talk. I heard the Queen say only yesterday you deserve to be beheaded.
What for?
That's none of your business, too.
Yes, it is his business. And I'll tell him. It was for bringing the cook tulip roots instead of onions.
Well, of all the unjust things.
Would you tell me, please, why you are painting those roses?
Why? The fact is, you see, miss, this here ought to have been a red rose tree, and we put a white one in by mistake. And, if the Queen was to find out, we should all have our heads cut off, you know. So you see, miss, we're doing our best. A 4, she comes too.
The Queen! The Queen!
Who is this? Idiot! What's your name, child?
My name is Alice, so please your majesty.
And who are these?
How should I know? It's no business of mine.
Off with her head! Off with...
Nonsense.
Consider, my dear, she is only a child.
Get up! Leave off that! You make me giddy. What have you been doing here?
May it please your majesty, we were trying...
I see! Off with their head!
The unfortunate gardeners looked to Alice for protection, and she put them in a large flower pot that was near.
Are their heads off?
Their heads are gone, if it please your majesty.
That's right. Can you play croquet?
Yes.
Come on, then.
Alice joined the procession and found herself walking alongside the White Rabbit.
It's a very fine day.
Very. Where's the Duchess?
Hush, hush. She's under sentence of execution.
What for?
She boxed the Queen's ears. Oh, hush. The Queen will hear you. You see, she came rather late. And the Queen said, "Get to your places."
Alice thought she had never seen such a curious croquet ground in her life. The croquet balls were live hedgehogs, the mallets live flamingos, and the soldiers had to stand on their hands and feet to make the arches.
His head.
Cheshire Cat. Now I shall have somebody to talk to.
How are you getting on?
I don't think they play at all fairly, and they all quarrel so dreadfully.
How do you like the Queen?
Not at all. She's so extremely likely to win that it's hardly worthwhile finishing the game.
Who are you talking to?
It's a friend of mine, a Cheshire Cat. Allow me to introduce it.
I don't like the look of it at all. However, it may kiss my hand if it likes.
Meow. I'd rather not.
Don't be impertinent and don't look at me like that.
A cat may look at a king.
Well, it must be removed. My dear, I wish you would have this cat removed.
Off with his head!
Alice thought she might as well go back and see how the game was going on. She did not like the look of things at all, as the game was in such confusion. She went back to have a little more conversation with the Cheshire Cat. She was surprised to find quite a large crowd collected round it.
You can't cut off her head unless there is a body to cut it off from.
Anything that has a head can be beheaded, so don't talk nonsense.
If something isn't done about it in less than no time, I'll have everybody executed!
It belongs to the Duchess. You'd better ask her about it.
She's in prison. Fetch her here.
Everything's got a moral. You can't think of how glad I am to see you again, my dear old thing. You're thinking about something, my dear, and that makes you forget to talk. I can't tell you just now what the moral of that is, but I shall remember it in a bit.
Perhaps there isn't one.
Tut, tut, child. Everything's got a moral, if only you can find it.
The game's going on rather better now.
'Tis so, and the moral of that is, oh, 'tis love that makes the world go round.
Somebody said that it's done by everybody minding their own business.
Ah, well, it means much the same thing. And the moral of that is, take care of the sense, and the sounds will take care of themselves. I suppose you're wondering why I don't put my arm around your waist. The reason is that I'm doubtful about the temper of your flamingo. Shall I try the experiment?
He might bite.
Very true. Flamingos and mustard both bite. And the moral of that is, birds of a feather flock together.
Only mustard isn't a bird.
Right as usual. What a clear way you have of putting things.
It's a mineral, I think.
Of course it is. There is a large mustard mine near here. And the moral of that is, the more there is of mine, the less there is of yours.
Oh, I know. It's a vegetable. It doesn't look like one, but it is.
Thinking again?
I've a right to think.
Just about as much right as pigs have to fly. And the moral...
Now I gave you fair warning. Either you or your head must be off, and that in about half no time. Take your choice. Have you seen the mock turtle yet?
No, I don't even know what a mock turtle is.
It's the thing mock turtle soup is made from.
I never saw one or heard of one.
Come on then, and he shall tell you his history. Up, lazy thing. Take this young lady to see the mock turtle, and to hear his history. I must go back and see after some executions I have ordered.
What fun!
What is the fun?
Why, she. It's all her fancy, that. They never executes nobody, you know. Come on.
What is his sorrow?
It's all his fancy, that. He hasn't got no sorrow, you know. Come on. This here young lady, she wants for to know your history, she do.
I'll tell it to her. Sit down and don't speak a word till I've finished. Oh, once I was a real turtle. Oh, when we were little, we went to school in the sea. The master was an old turtle. We used to call him Tortoise.
Why did you call him Tortoise if he wasn't one?
We called him Tortoise because he taught us. Really, you are very dull.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself for asking such a simple question. Drive on, old fella, don't be all day about it.
Yes, we went to school in the sea, though you mayn't believe it.
I never said I didn't.
You did.
Hold your tongue.
We went to school every day.
I've been to day school too. You needn't be so proud as all that.
With extras?
Yes, we learned French and music.
And washing?
Certainly not.
Oh, then yours wasn't a really good school.
You couldn't have wanted it much, living at the bottom of the sea.
I couldn't afford to learn it. I only took the regular course.
What was that?
Well, there was mystery, ancient and modern, with seography, then drawing. The drawing master was an old Caucus-Race that used to come once a week. He taught us drawing, stretching, and fainting in coils.
And how many hours a day did you do lessons?
10 hours the first day, 9 the next, and so on.
What a curious plan.
That's the reason they're called lessons, because they lesson from day to day.
Then the 11th day must have been a holiday?
Of course it was.
And how did you manage on the 12th?
That's enough about lessons. Tell us something about the games now.
You may not have lived much under the sea.
I haven't.
And perhaps you were never even introduced to a lobster.
I once tasted... No, never.
So you can have no idea what a delightful thing a Lobster-Quadrille is.
No, indeed. What sort of a dance is it?
Why, you first form into a line along the seashore. Seals, turtles, salmon and so on.
2 lines, but first you clear all the jellyfish out of the way. Back to land again, and that's all the first figure. Turn a somersault in the sea.
Advance twice, each with a lobster as a partner.
Then you throw the lobsters as far out to sea as you can. Turn a somersault in the sea.
Swim after them.
Then you throw the lobsters as far out to sea as you can. Then you throw the lobsters as far out to sea as you can. Turn a somersault in the sea. Back to land again, and that's all the first figure.
Advance twice, each with a lobster as a partner. swim after them.
Then you throw the lobsters as far out to sea as you can. Turn a somersault in the sea.
It must be a very pretty dance.
Would you like to see a little of it?
Very much indeed.
The griffin and the mock turtle solemnly began waving their forepaws to mark the time, while the mock turtle began to sing.
Will you walk a little faster? Said a whiting to a snail. There's a porpoise close behind us, and he's treading on my tail. See how eagerly the lobsters and the turtles all advance? They are waiting on the shingle. Will you come and join the dance? Will you?
Won't you?
Will you?
Won't you?
Will you?
Won't you?
Will you join the dance? Will you?
Won't you?
Will you?
Won't you?
Will you?
Won't you?
Won't you join the dance? You can really have no notion how delightful it will be when they take us up and throw us with the lobsters out to sea. But the snail replied, too far, and gave a look askance. Said he thanked the whiting kindly, but he would not join the dance. Would not,
Could not,
would not,
could not,
would not,
could not,
would not join the dance. Would not,
could not,
would not,
could not,
would not,
could not,
could not join the dance. What matters is how far we go, his scaly friend replied. There is another shore, you know, upon the other side. The further off from England, the nearer is to France. Then turn not pale, beloved snail, but come and join the dance. Will you? Won't you? Will you? Will you join the dance? Will you? Won't you? Will you? Won't you join the dance?
If I'd have been the whiting, I'd have said to the porpoise, "Keep back, please. We don't want you with us."
They were obliged to have him with them. No wise fish would go anywhere without a porpoise.
Wouldn't it really?
Of course not. Why, if a fish came to me and told me he was going on a journey, I should say, with what porpoise?
Don't you mean purpose?
I mean what I say. I should like to hear her try and repeat something now.
Repeat, "'Tis the voice of the sluggard."
"'Tis the voice of the lobster. I heard him declare, You have baked me too brown, I must sugar my hair. As a duck with its eyelids, so he with his nose trims his belt and his buttons and turns out his toes. When the sands are all dry, he's as gay as a lark, and will talk in contemptuous tones of the shark. But when the tide rises and sharks are around, his voice has a timid and tremulous sound.
That's different from what I used to say when I was a child.
Well, I never heard it before, but it sounds uncommon nonsense.
Shall we try another figure of the Lobster-Quadrille? Or would you like the Mock Turtle to sing you another song?
Oh, a song, please, if the Mock Turtle would be so kind.
No accounting for tastes. Sing her Turtle Soup, will you, old fellow?
Beautiful soup, so rich and green, waiting in a hot tureen. Who for such dainties would not stoop?
Soup of the evening, beautiful soup. Soup of the evening, beautiful soup. Beautiful soup. Beautiful soup. Soup of the evening, beautiful, beautiful soup. Beautiful soup, who cares for fish, game or any other dish? Who would not give all else for 2 pennyworth only of beautiful soup? Pennyworth only of beautiful soup. Beautiful soup. Beautiful soup. Soup of the evening. Beautiful, beautiful soup.
The trial's beginning!
What trial is it?
Come on.
Soup of the evening, beautiful, beautiful soup.
The King and Queen of Hearts were seated on their throne when Alice and the Griffin arrived, with a great crowd assembled about them, all sorts of little birds and beasts, as well as the whole pack of cards. In the very middle of the court was a table with a large dish of tarts upon it. They looked so good that it made Alice quite hungry to look at them.
What are the jurors doing? They can't have anything to put down yet before the trial's begun.
They're putting down their names for fear they should forget them before the end of the trial.
Stupid things. What are the jurors doing? They can't have anything to put down yet before the trial's begun.
They're putting down their names for fear they should forget them before the end of the trial.
Stupid things.
Silence in the court! Silence in the court!
What are the jurors doing? They can't have anything to put...
Herald, read the accusation.
The Queen of Hearts, she made some tarts, all on a summer's day. The Knave of Hearts, he stole those tarts and took them quite away.
Consider your verdict.
Not yet, not yet. There's a great deal to come before that.
Call the first witness.
First witness! I beg your pardon, Your Majesty, for bringing these in, but I hadn't quite finished my tea when I was sent for.
You ought to have finished. When did you begin?
14th of March, I think it was.
15.
16!
Write that down. Take off your hat.
It isn't mine.
Stolen.
I keep them to sell. I've none of my own, I'm a hatter.
Give your evidence and don't be nervous, or I'll have you executed on the spot.
Alice felt a very curious sensation. She was beginning to grow larger again. She thought at first she would leave the court, but decided to remain where she was, as long as there was room for her.
I wish you wouldn't squeeze so. I can hardly breathe. I can't help it. I'm growing.
You've no right to grow here.
Don't talk nonsense. You know you're growing too.
Yes, but I grow at a reasonable pace, not in that ridiculous fashion.
Give your evidence or I'll have you executed, whether you're nervous or not.
I'm a poor man, Your Majesty, and I hadn't begun my tea, not above a week or so. And what with the bread and butter getting so thin and the twinkling of the tea.
The twinkling of what?
It began with the tea.
Of course twinkling begins with a T. Do you take me for a dunce? Go on.
I'm a poor man, and most things twinkled after that. Only the March Hare said...
I didn't.
You did.
I deny it.
He denies it. Leave out that part.
Well, at any rate, the Dormouse said... After that, I cut some more bread and butter.
But what did the Dormouse say?
That I can't remember.
You must remember, or I'll have you executed.
I'm a poor man, Your Majesty.
You're a very poor speaker. If that's all you know about it, you may stand down.
I can't go no lower. I'm on the floor as it is.
Then you may sit down.
I'd rather finish my tea.
You may go.
And just take his head off outside.
Call the next witness. Give your evidence.
Shan't.
Your Majesty must cross-examine this witness.
Well, if I must, I must. What are tarts made of?
Pepper, mostly.
Collar that Dormouse! Behead that Dormouse! Turn that Dormouse out of court! Suppress him! Pinch him! Off with his whiskers!
Never mind. Call the next witness. Really, my dear, you must cross-examine the next witness. It quite makes my forehead ache.
Alice. Alice.
Alice, quite forgetting how large she had grown, tipped over the jury box with the edge of her skirt.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
As soon as the jury had a little recovered from the shock of being upset, they set to work very diligently to write out a history of the accident.
What do you know about this business?
Nothing.
Nothing whatever.
Nothing whatever.
That's very important.
Unimportant, your Majesty means, of course.
Unimportant, of course I meant. Important, unimportant, unimportant, important.
First witness.
Silence. Rule 42. All persons more than a mile high to leave the court.
I'm not a mile high.
You are.
Nearly 2 miles high.
Well, I shan't go, at any rate. Besides, that's not a regular rule. You invented it just now.
It's the oldest rule in the book.
Then it ought to be number 1.
Consider your verdict.
There's more evidence to come yet. Please, Your Majesty, this paper has just been picked up. What's in it? Seems to be a letter written by the prisoner to somebody.
It must have been that, unless it was written to nobody, which isn't usual, you know.
Who is it directed to?
It isn't directed at all. In fact, it's a set of verses.
Are they in the prisoner's handwriting?
No, they're not. And that's the queerest thing about it.
He must have imitated somebody else's hand.
Please, Your Majesty. I didn't write it, and they can't prove that I did. There's no name signed at the end.
If you didn't sign it, that only makes the matter worse. You must have meant some mischief, or else you'd have signed your name like an honest man.
That proves his guilt, of course. So off with his...
It doesn't prove anything of the sort. Why, you don't even know what they're about.
Read them.
Where shall I begin, please, Your Majesty?
Begin at the beginning, and go on till you come to the end. Then stop.
They told me you had been to her and mentioned me to him. She gave me a good character, but said I could not swim. He sent them word I had not gone. We know it to be true. If she should push the matter on, what would become of you? I gave her 1, they gave him 2. You gave us 3 or more. They all returned from him to you, though they were mine before. If I or she should chance to be involved in this affair, he trusts to you to set them free exactly as we were. My notion was that you had been, before she had this fit, an obstacle that came between him and ourselves and it. Don't let them know she liked them best, for this must ever be a secret kept from all the rest, between yourself and me.
That's the most important piece of evidence we've heard yet. So now, let the jury.
If any one of them can explain it, I'll give him 6pence. I don't believe there's an atom of meaning in it.
If there's no meaning in it, that saves a world of trouble, you know, as we needn't try to find any. And yet, I don't know. I seem to see some meaning in them after all. Said I could not swim. You can't swim, can you?
Do I look like it?
All right so far. We know it to be true. That's the jury, of course. If she should push the matter on, that must be the Queen. What would become of you? What indeed? I gave her 1, they gave him 2. Why, that must be what he did with the tarts, you know.
But it goes on, they all returned from him to you.
Why, there they are. Nothing can be clearer than that. Then again, before she had this fit... You've never had fits, my dear, I think?
Never.
Then the words don't fit you. It's a pun. Let the jury consider their...
No! Sentence first, verdict afterwards.
Stuff and nonsense. The idea of having the sentence first.
Hold your tongue.
I won't.
Off with her head.
Who cares for you? You're nothing but a pack of cards. Wake up, Alice dear. Why? What What a long sleep you've had. Oh, I've had such a curious dream. It was a curious dream, dear, certainly. But now, run into your tea. It's getting late.
Thus grew the tale of Wonderland. Thus slowly, one by one, its quaint events were hammered out. And now the tale is done, and home we steer, a merry crew, beneath the setting sun.